Welcome to another episode of I'm Not Yelling, I'm Dominican podcast, hosted by Nachi and Damaris. Hey everybody, this is your girl Nachi, and I'm so excited about our episode today. I don't know about anyone else, but I love to hear about other people's spiritual path and how that's shaped them in their lives, because for me, it always gives me food for thought in how I navigate the world we live in and how I can be a better version of myself. So Damaris and I, we're going to spend the next couple of episodes talking about spirituality, grounding, and ancestral healing. And we just can't have this discussion without having our lovely niece, Naomi of Own Body and Soul, who's been doing the work and leading the path for future generations. So welcome, Naomi. Why don't you share a little bit about yourself? Tell our audience what you're all about, what you've been up to, what to expect.
That's a great question. I feel like when I have to explain who am I, what I'm about, there's just so much, right? Like, it's like, where do you want me to go? Down what aisle? Like, the aisle that I'm a Bronx chick? Are we going down the aisle that I'm a Dominican girl? Are we going down the aisle of my spiritual journey? Like, there's just so much, right? But in a nutshell, I am a girl from the Bronx, born and raised. And I can honestly say that I'm here, like, on my own. Like, I always say that, right? Like, I was born to, my mom and my father and all of that good stuff. But from when I can remember, I've just been, like, navigating life on my own, and just understanding life differently. And I think before I even understood spirituality, just kind of living in that spiritual realm without even noticing that I was doing so from a very young age, and just feeling a connection that was bigger than me, right? But I didn't know what that was. My mom didn't foster that, right? Like, she didn't fully, my mom's family had no idea. They still have no idea. So I've kind of been this Dominican girl from the Bronx, just navigating life and figuring life out on my own. I went away to school. I figured that out on my own. I've just been on a journey, and I think I've been on a journey since I was a child, like, without even knowing that I came here to do stuff, right? And my mom was the vessel, right, that got me here. But there's been a huge disconnect since I could remember, right? I've just been doing my own thing. So fast forward, I'm a mother. I have a son. I'm a single mommy. The last 5 years of my life has been extremely transformational for me. I became an entrepreneur. As I like to say, I got out of the matrix without even knowing that I was doing that 5 years ago. And my journey has been, every year has been something different. It's been mind, body, and soul. Own Body and Soul was given to me. I don't remember when it first started happening. I used to say it like it was just given to me. And I started realizing people's faces, like, all right, this girl is weird. Like, what is she talking about? Yeah, and I just stopped. Yeah, I just stopped. I said, you know what? I'm just going to stop, because I started sounding like a little too deep or a little bit too extra.
It was scaring people, yeah.
It was scaring people, and then it was also making me doubt. Something that there was no doubt in me. Like, I knew what I was talking about. But because, once again, as a Dominican girl from the Bronx, the resources are not around us. You have to really be a nut job to sit here and be like, yep, this is it. Because everything around me it's against my ideologies. And for the most part, growing up, I was always too deep. Like, I lost friends because I was too extra, or like I was too emotional. But not emotional like, oh, boo, ha, ha, ha. But because I understood emotions. I've been very emotionally intelligent in an environment of people that just didn't understand that.
You sound like Damaris.
I tell Nachi all the time, and anyone that cares to listen, I have an extremely high emotional quotient.
She tells that to everyone.
But I do, because I just need like up to 30 minutes to observe someone, identify certain things about them, about myself, everything, and take that into how I then approach my engagement with them, my interaction with them. And also identify their weaknesses, so if I ever have to use that against them, I will in a heartbeat to eviscerate them mentally and verbally, never physically, because I'm not that kind of person.
So then think about that. So then growing up, right, I'm this emotionally intelligent person, and now I'm still identified in my human experience, right? I get with my son's father, who's a complete street guy, right? Like literally from the hood that I grew up in. And then I'm like battling like my inner self, like who I really am at the core of my soul. And then now I'm navigating life around all these other people they were just not, right? Like completely just identified with their human experience, being from the Bronx, being Latinos, just being very limited in the resources, right, that were given to us. And then that awoke the fighter in me. I never was a fighter. I was always this jolly person, very happy. And there were years of my life that I identified as a fighter, you know, where I was fighting people. I was angry. And I always remember that stage of my life because I remember the day I snapped out of it. And I literally sat with myself and I said, hold up, Naomi. You're not angry.
So,
like, this is not even you.
Yeah. So would you say that was the turning point for you? Because I feel like you mentioned before, you always had that in you, but you didn't know how to express it or articulate exactly what that was. When was that turning point where you realized your spirituality and that path that you needed to walk? Like, what was that spark that kind of set it off?
I always say it started when I was pregnant with my son. And I think it was very, like, mild, right? That I kind of knew, but I say that because I was very connected to myself and my spirit without, I was a little girl. I was 21 years old and I just graduated college, right? So it was for the first time that now it was that inner trust, I would say. Like, I fell into trust. Like, when I came up pregnant with my son, I knew that he was a boy. I knew it was bigger than me. Like, I knew I had to have him. I went into this, like, I
And
didn't
you
want no
trusted
one.
your intuition.
I trusted it to another level. I also knew that I had to give birth with no medication. Like, I'm a whole kid, right? Like, the first thing you do when you have your first baby is not think about enduring pain, right? Especially with all the stories that you hear from Dominican families, right? And all that good stuff. My mom gave birth to all three of her kids with no medication, so she was an advocate, but it was on a different explanation than I was. Me, it was just like, no, I just can't. It was a command, right? It was an inner command that I didn't know what it was, but I just knew that I could not give birth with medication. And it was very protective of my pregnancy. I didn't allow anyone to see me. And I remember when I was in my pregnancy, I was like, why am I even acting like this? Like, I didn't even expect myself. And it was really crazy. Like,
Right.
I would be in my homegirl's house, and if someone came, like, I'll cover myself, like, and I'll run out. It was very, like,
Yeah, like you didn't want to
mental issues. Like, what's going on with her?
I don't need that energy.
So it was bigger than me. So I would say it started there, but I wasn't aware. I was just living in it, right?
You were being present, which is, I think, is great. That's a good example.
Yeah. Then when I gave birth to my son, that day that I actually delivered, it was supernatural. And I knew that there was a presence there, but I didn't. This is still like knowing and not knowing. I just knew that it was something bigger than me. So I say this because my mom passed out when I gave birth. Like, literally in my first push, she passed out, and I had a very peaceful labor. So when all of that was said and done, I'm like, this was energy. And I didn't understand energy. I didn't even understand that dialect at that time. But I'm like, oh, this was spiritual. But I always knew that I was going to figure that out. So I would say that episode of giving birth to my son allowed me to understand that I was communicating with something. And it wasn't direct conversation. It was an inner knowing. And it was an inner understanding. And when I left the hospital after that weekend, I remember my mom left me in front of the hospital building. I'm in a wheelchair with my baby. She goes get the car. And I never cried after I gave birth until this moment right there. I was left alone. I had my baby in my hands. And I'll never forget this. I looked up and I started crying because it was like I accepted the task. And I thought I was crazy after that. Like, when I started analyzing it in the car, I'm like, who the fuck am I talking to? Like, what the hell was that? Because it was energy. It was, and I started crying, and it was just like I accepted. Like, it was like I accepted a mission. So I'm like, all right, I'm really losing my mind, right? So that was like I would say, like, the beginning of me understanding. Whatever's working for me is working. There's something different going on here, but it was like, whatever. Like, I didn't give it too much thought because I didn't know what to give it thought to, like how to analyze that. What did it for me for sure was fast forward the day that I left my son's father. I will never forget that day. I woke up, it was a Wednesday. I cleansed my whole entire apartment. I don't know, I wanted to clean. And once I was done, I sat on my bed, and I didn't even know I was going to do this. I just started crying. And I said out loud, I said, please, because I felt like, I always knew he was cheating, but I was so focused on being a mom and just, like, I just graduated college. I was trying to figure out, like, all right, what's next? Like, I had a job. I was getting my master's, and I had given up on that because I was not emotionally stable. I went through I had a hard time after I gave birth. I went through postpartum, and I think it was so bad for me because I have a man around me that did not understand. My mom didn't understand. She had 3 kids, and she was still like, eso no es nada, las mujeres paren. Las mujeres paren, párate de ahí. Like,
she's like, well, you give birth and you get over it, bitch.
Yeah, like, this is what we do.
Okay.
Like, women give birth. Like, chop, chop. Like, that was
like
kind of like that.
And you're like, this isn't normal. This isn't right.
And I'm just like, what? Like, I'm going through some crazy. It was,
and I don't
stages.
have support. And I don't have support.
I had to thug it out. I thugged it out, and it was different stages. Like, it was stages of even close to like schizophrenia. Like, I always call it that. It was just this paranoia. I will never forget that I went through a stage that I didn't open mail for like 2 years.
For 2 years?
I didn't open mail.
Not you didn't open her credit card bills. She came out of college. Maybe it's the same thing.
No, but me, it was after I gave birth. But it was this. No, for me, it was this fear that apparently I thought I was going to get bad news in the mail.
Really?
You said let me avoid it by not opening it. Okay.
It was some scary shit. And so I went through so many different stages that I just got out of by myself. So then I started realizing, like, okay, I'm going through some shit, you know, and I couldn't really talk about it. But that day I sat on the bed and I said, God, whatever it is, I said, please, whatever it is, just throw it in front of me, and and I always remember exactly word for word. I said, throw it in front of me, and I'm going to take it for what it is, and I'm leaving. I'm never coming back. That day I leave my house to go do taxes, file my taxes with my homegirl. I run 2 people over, like slightly hit them. That whole event occurred so that the girl that walked past, you know, like, I'm there, the cops were called. I want you to know there's no recollection of that day. There was no police report. There was no ambulance report. It was some extremely magical shit, for real. But all of that occurred for this girl to come walking by. She goes, Naomi, I'm so tired of seeing you go through stuff. That's it. I'm going to tell you. And she tells me that my son's father was cheating on me with, like, one of my best friends for, like, a year. And she's giving me all this information. And I'm just like,
oh,
and she's
God.
like,
It just hit you in your face.
Yeah.
That was like, it woke you up.
You ask, you shall receive. And
she's like, and all she's worried about is like, oh my God, please don't tell nobody. Because her husband at the time owned a restaurant. This is all on Dykeman. So her husband owned a restaurant on Dykeman. And she's like, I don't want no problems because nobody wants to tell you this. Everybody's scared of him because he's like threatening people. Like, he had a whole,
oh my God,
like a mafia, like, you know, of people that knew and did not tell me. So I'm just looking at her, and I'm just in the back of my mind like, girl, you have no idea. Like, I just asked for this. Like, I was more in the shock of, and I said, throw it in front of me. So now I'm just replaying like, oh shit, this is what happened. They threw it in front of me. I hit it. Like, and I just kept telling her, girl, you don't even know what you did for me. You just set me free, girl. Like, no. You have nothing to worry about. I left my son's father from that day, and I've never, ever got back with him from that day. And to me, it was just like, I couldn't get back with him. I didn't love him anymore anyways. I was already struggling, so I wanted to leave him. But I didn't get back with him. I needed that clarity, and they gave me the clarity. And then that's when I said, okay, all right, I'll talk to somebody. But still in denial. So that moment only lived in me for like a couple of weeks. And I was just like, could you believe that I asked and it was delivered? And hell no, I can't get back with this guy. I'm going to get punished. Whoever delivered, like, I clearly said, if you deliver, I'm not getting back. Which is one of the main reasons I've never got back with him. I wasn't in love with him anymore. That wasn't even negotiable. But that was an add-on to, like, even if there was some type of negotiation, like, I'm sorry, like, I spoke to some people, they delivered.
Right, I have to go. I got my message.
Yeah. I spoke to people, and they delivered, and it was time for me to go. But that was the turning point. That's when I knew, okay,
Mm-hmm.
There's something out here, and I still disconnected from it after.
Yeah,
From that information.
That's interesting. I think I love to hear that because you had your kind of turning point earlier in life, and I want to say for me it was later. But just thinking about it, I think you always recognize that you are some sort of spiritual being. And for me personally, that's how I grew up knowing, sensing spirituality and knowing that it's connected to my soul, something bigger than just like, this human experience, but never really, just kind of living through it, not really thinking too much about it, not being too philosophical. I feel like in the last few years, it's probably been something more that I'm more thoughtful about what does it actually mean to be spiritual. And for me, again, is to be connected with my soul, right? Being connected with my intuition, following that more, seeing how there's a connection to a oneness of everything around you, inside of you, etc. And so, uh, just to share for me, my turning point was definitely our father's passing, like that, in a way that I always knew again that I'm a spiritual being having a human experience. And I was, raised Catholic, and religion was a big part of my life. Not like some crazy religious person, some Bible thumper, but definitely like, I'd go to church on Sundays. It was 1 hour, and as a Catholic, you're raised with this guilt if you don't go to mass for 1 hour in a week. Can't give that to God. You don't love, you don't love the God. So I was like, all right, let me give my 50 minutes of mass every Sunday, whatever. And then I got past it because I just had issues with the Catholic Church, and I was just like, I don't need this institution. And then fast forward when Poppy passed away, it was just there was a connection of, okay, I would have conversations. I mean, even the week that he was in hospice, and the night that he passed away, it was a full moon. I was on the balcony because they were living in Florida and he was in Florida. And I just heard, like, you got to let him go. And I was like, and I'm in this is all in my head. I'm like, I can't let him go because I don't want him to be by himself. And it was just like, he's not by himself. And when I heard that and I felt it, like, okay, he's not by himself because, he is with the Creator. He is surrounded by loved ones, ancestors. And then I was like, okay. And then he passed away that night. And so I was just like, oh, okay. There is kind of like that conversation you heard and you felt. It's like, okay, got it, noted. I need
and something's talking to me.
Yeah, and it's just not in my head because actually stuff is happening, right? And that for me was the start of the transformation that continues to grow. But part of it is that also letting go of what me caring about what people expect of me, what they think about me. That's no longer my business. I don't even care. And I've lost relationships over these transformative years, and I'm okay with it. I really don't care because I feel lighter. I feel better.
And it doesn't matter when people are not on your frequency. It's like,
Yeah,
Right.
it's like it takes itself out. You're not missing it.
Yeah.
It's interesting because I feel like I had a mix of where I had peaks and valleys in my life and was sidetracked. For
Oh yeah,
me,
now she was always a little Miss
yes.
Connection home, her little crystals and shit before.
I would say my original turning point was in college because for me, my youth, I was basically living in a bubble, right? Everything was great. High school was fun. Everybody loved me. All things are great. you know, no issues. Not. It wasn't until I went away to college where I dealt with jealousy, toxic relationship, all of that. And it was horrible. I did not like my college years because I experienced things that I wasn't used to. I didn't like it, but I always found myself trying to, I guess, prove to people like, but everybody likes me. Come on, like why don't you like
Mm-hmm.
me? So I struggled with that, right? Why don't they like me? Like, what's the problem? And why is this person doing this to me? So, going through that, and I drank a lot in college.
Yes,
You could,
you did.
I tell Damaris to this day whenever I see anybody who's drinking in excess just to drink in excess, I'm like, that person's depressed. And Damaris like, why would you say that? I said, because there's
Because you
no,
know they're trying to alter their
yes, because
reality.
I know how I felt. I was there. I was there. I was like, yeah, give it to me. I'll drink anything and whatever.
We'll talk about it tomorrow.
Yes, yes. And I remember the it was like the first time I heard of Ayanna Van Zandt, and I picked up her book Act of Faith. And so it was going through that process made me think or realize that it's never you. It's not you. It's they're the problem. They're the issue. They have their own problems and they're just projecting that onto you. And so you have to be able to kind of let that go. So that helped me make sense of it. It didn't mean that I overcame anything, but that was like my journey on that path. And I tell you, I've tried every single thing and it all helped me in my journey. But then I got married. That's when things sidetracked for me. I was on the path doing everything to sustain myself, keeping my, vibration high. I was good. I was, things were happening, but I didn't let it overcome me. So I just kept it pushing, you know? Um, and I got married, and for whatever reason, I kind of just let things go, right? And I just put all of my faith on this one individual, all my expectations on this one individual. Took myself out because, I can't even tell you what was going through my mind or why I was thinking in that way because
You were
that's
being the selfless woman, right? Kind of like what we're taught to be
right.
selfless, to
Yes.
be
Like you
the
have to be
anchor of your
right.
home.
You have to be there for your husband and, start a family. And that was my focus. And that just took me to a whole different place, an entire different place, to a point where I was becoming depressed again. And it was more visible after having Maddie, my first child, because that's when I really felt the effect that I didn't have the partner that I thought I should have. But again, he's his own person and I'm, my own person. I have my own expectations. He has his own expectations. We had two different ideas of what partnership was or how that was supposed to look like. But I was placing that responsibility on him. And because I was doing that, I was increasingly becoming more and more depressed, not being there for my child. And then I get pregnant again. I'm just like completely disconnected. So I love it when I hear mothers who feel like, oh my God, it was magical. Like for you, it was magical. For me, my pregnancy was wonderful. I loved being pregnant. It was the
No, my
after.
pregnancy was magical. It was the postpartum
Yes,
after that was just
I,
like,
I
what mental illness is this?
Yes,
He's like, I
yes,
didn't sign up for this.
yes.
Pause.
It was horrible, and then I didn't have that support system there. You know, like I had my parents and I had Damaris, but they weren't there with me, right? And it's but so much that they can do living in Florida and in New York.
And it's so internal that no one,
No
even
one,
if they've been a mom too,
right?
no one understands. It's an internal. It's like a psychosis.
Yes,
It's like it's
yes, yes. And it was a moment where I was like, I can't do this anymore. I called my parents. I was like, yeah, I think I'm gonna leave him, and this is, this is my plan. And even in that,
I
yeah,
tried.
yeah, like I can't do this anymore. Like you have to beat me down for me to just like
Mm-hmm.
totally say, okay, I'll let it go. It wasn't until after I left him, even though those years were a struggle still, but not in the same sense when I was living with him. I felt more,
Mm-hmm.
I felt freer. Although I was struggling, I felt freer because now I don't have any expectation. Now I have to kind of work on me. Now I was focusing on myself and figuring things out and how that, you know, how was I responsible in all of that? And I say this because I know a lot of people think, oh, if you think positively or, you know, um, that love and light type of mentality that it's all good, but it's not because, like I said, it was a struggle during that period
Mhm.
after I left.
Right.
But equally, I felt a lightness because I knew where I was going, but I kind of had to walk through the fire to really kind of pick myself up and get over that hump. And it's the spiritual path is not a linear path, right? It kind of goes in different
It's a
Right.
roller
directions.
coaster, up
Yeah,
and down, up
Yeah.
and
different
down.
Zigzag.
direction. Yeah, you
Mm-hmm.
you may fall off, get back, get yourself back on. So it's
Right when you're like at the highest, it
yes,
just whoop,
yes.
drops, and now you're like,
Better what
I was
happened?
all the way up there.
But
It's real,
yeah,
yeah.
it is. But I always appreciate that I had a foundation to fall on. Well, I've never really considered myself very religious. I kind of, religion or, Catholicism for us, I looked at it as a tradition. Like, oh, we have our baptism, we got to do baptism, we got to do the communion and all that. It was tradition for me, but not so much that I didn't go to church very often. I went every so often when I needed like that little lift, and it had to be a church that I was comfortable in. I was never comfortable in a church that I can't even explain it. But the churches
They would have to resonate with you,
yeah,
basically.
yeah, and but again, there was a foundation there because even at home with Bobby, he was always, the one kind of ensuring, listen, you may have challenges in your life, but kind of talk to God, you always have that support. We're here, you have that we have our own little unit here. So
Mm-hmm.
you tap in if you need to tap into. So I always felt like there was a foundation and I just needed to kind of get back to that. And so it like I said, it's never that one straight narrow path to self actualization or acknowledgement. It's just it's you go through your peaks and valleys.
It's never ending. It's never
Yes,
ending.
it's a
As
No, it's
journey.
an evolution.
Yeah,
as long as we're humans and identified in our human experience, it's just we're gonna keep going through it. It's that's what we come here for. We come to evolve, you
yeah,
know.
and that's
And it's not
yeah,
like one age gap, like oh, from 20s to 30s you
Right.
evolve. It
right.
doesn't work that way.
Yeah, it can happen anytime. You just you have to be aware and willing and be open-minded of, of the signs that come to you, of your own experience. It's not, woo, it's me. It's, okay, this is happening to me. What can
What
I
am I
do?
supposed
What
to
am I
learn
supposed
from
to
this?
learn?
Mm-hmm.
Right. What are you supposed to learn, and what is your part in this?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
That's the key,
Because,
which a lot of people don't want to look at. They want to blame the other person
yeah.
for the downfall, but what was your part in it?
Those people are highly identified in pain. I've learned that as I've just navigated life. The people that are victims are in pain.
Yeah, and I that was one thing I think I've always been like, is this idea of you're accountable for your own happiness. You're and you solely are accountable for the things, the decisions, the choices you make in life. Your life is a reflection of your choices. Your life is a reflection of your mental state. And I remember when Nachi was going through that time in her life where she was like not really happy. And I don't know if you remember, Nachi. I told you, I said, this is before she actually told me she was going to leave him, but I said, whatever you do, if you want to leave him, do not worry about money.
Mm-hmm.
Do not.
Yeah, I
I
remember
will
that.
we will make this happen no matter what. I said, between your parents and me, you're fine. So if this is not something, if money is something that could hold you back from moving
And,
forward,
and
I
it's
was
not
like,
holding
do
you
not
back.
let that be a factor. Because
Mm-hmm.
I know for a lot of women in marriages, like that is a bit,
Yeah, it
that's
is.
not something, that's something huge for them to undertake, and it's not an
And
easy
when
I
you
task.
have
left my
children,
son's father. I was
Right.
24 years old,
mm-hmm.
and I left that relationship with nothing. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't even
Yeah.
have mind you, I had a car the whole time. It just so happened right before I broke up with him, like I had got rid of my car. I was waiting for him to buy me another car. He used to buy me everything. He
Hmm.
crippled me, right?
Mm-hmm.
He just gave me everything.
Yeah.
I
So you can be
walked out of
financially
there.
dependent.
I walked, and he thought I was never going to leave because of that. So when I left, it was just like the biggest shock of his life. I didn't have $1 to my name. I didn't have a savings account. I didn't have anything. Like, I didn't even have a vehicle to move around. And when I tell you that that was truly the beginning of my spiritual journey, like
Mm-hmm.
mind, body, and soul, it was because now at that point I was working with God. I was working with my journey. I was
With
just
your
trusting.
faith.
Yeah, I
Right.
just said, all right, I'm leaving him. Like, I trust that whatever's gonna work is gonna
Right,
work, and
right.
it worked. And I used to envision myself. I'll never forget. I used to, after I left him, I played my friend's couch for a while. I took my son to my mom's house because I didn't have the emotional capacity or the mental capacity to take care of him.
Mm.
And I would literally go every single day to my mom's house to like see him real quick. And I'll spend the whole entire day laying on my friend's couch. I would even last days without taking a bath
Mm-hmm.
because I was just so down and out.
Mm-hmm.
So I would literally lay there. But I remember now that I know what that is, I was literally manifesting.
Yeah.
I was creating that girl, how I wanted to feel, how I wanted people. I was so hurt and so much in pain that I wanted vengeance. Like I wanted, but I was so humiliated, right? Like remember, I awoke to a reality that everyone around me knew, even my siblings, right? Like
Mm.
I was betrayed on every layer, family, friends. Like it was disgusting.
Mm-hmm.
So my whole thing is like I wanted to regain myself from that. So I used to envision that girl, and I didn't know what that girl was going to do financially, but I used to envision how I wanted to feel, how I wanted to walk by people, and how I wanted them to feel about me. Um, like I envisioned it, and I swear to God, exactly all those days of just being depressed, just playing it back, playing it back,
Mm-hmm.
playing it back. I made that girl, 100%.
Yeah.
I made her.
Yeah.
That by the time I started walking as her, I said, "Yo, I created this shit."
You
I said, "Oh yeah, I
recognized
wanted.
her.
I wanted. Oh I actually wanted to walk in this club and have everybody cater to me.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
you know, like yeah, and what I wanted to do was very like 3D. Like I wanted to go to the clubs. I wanted to pop bottles. It was. I had a moment of I needed to redeem myself
Yeah.
for these 3D individuals that were laughing at me.
Mm-hmm.
I needed to like get that back. Oh girl, I got it back.
That's
Oh yes,
right.
I did. Oh, and then I was over it. And then I said, all right, this ain't for me. That's cool.
Right.
I'm
Right.
done.
But you know what?
Yeah.
So you just had to do that one little flex.
You like,
Literally,
mic
it was
drop.
like
Mic
it
drop,
was time.
bitch.
I needed to stunt, and it was, and it
Stunt on
had
these
nothing to do
hoes.
with. It had nothing to do with the outside. It had everything to do with like the inside of what that did to my to my confidence, to
Yeah.
my aura, to my self-love, to my security. It was all of that. Once I got that out the way and I turned the whole game around of all the people that were laughing at me and I turned them into, they kind of started respecting me. I said, I'm good, I'm done.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
On to the next.
Right.
You gotta
Well,
start
that's
with
my
friends.
point. There you go.
Yeah, like what y'all thought? Like, and then for me, I had situations that even people that I grew up with that I considered my friends, family members, that you wouldn't think they're sitting there watching, like,
Not saying anything. Yeah.
So it's back to like we're
Almost
not
like praying for your downfall.
100%, 100%. I think I'm so wise because I've experienced real life pain. Mm-hmm. My own mom sat back like, let's see what she's gonna do. Mm-hmm. My own siblings, like, oh, let's see what she's gonna. It was not. I hate to even talk about it because it's a reality that I have to continuously face.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And even friends that were just sitting there like, what she's gonna do now? Mm-hmm. Oh, he got a girlfriend now.
That's what I'm going to do.
He got a new girlfriend now. Damn, yeah, she was living in a penthouse. I wonder what she's gonna. Oh, she's back at her mom's house. Oh, mind you, I was at my mom's house for like 3 months. Like, I made it happen fast.
Right.
But it was still that energy, and I used to feel it, and I used to just understand that I'm a little girl still. I'm like 24, and I'm trying to understand, like, wow, why are people like this? Like why, when I thought my mom would support me the most, why is she part of the crew of the people that are not trying to help me?
Right.
So it was like, all of that just made me a stronger person. And it allowed me to understand that I'm all I got, period. And that was a lesson that I had to learn early. And I'm very unapologetic now as a person. Like, if you want me to be a bitch, I could be a real big bitch. And it's not that I'm being a bitch, it's I'm very dismissive. I don't take shit from...
Right.
It is what it is. Like, oh, you don't like me? Oh, that's cool. Don't call me. Don't talk to me. It's nothing personal.
It's very easy for it to roll off your mouth.
Yeah, it's very easy. And we got no beef either. It's like, oh, you don't...
No, that approach kills people. It kills... I love that. I love icing out. I don't care. I don't mind looking at you like I'm looking through glass. You don't exist. And I'm a queen at
I look over you.
Yeah.
If you're there...
No. You're nice, Naomi. I look right through you like I don't even see you. Like I got Superman eyesight. Like
that's a lot for people. You know that, right?
Oh no,
that takes a level of security as an individual that it bothers people.
Yeah,
it does. It like, and I find it hilarious. I just like, wow, that really bothers them. I'm gonna do it some more because once I
sure that they feel it.
Okay. Like, just growing up, I would hold a grudge, right? I would forget why I held the grudge and what the grudge was for, but I would be like, I know I don't fuck with you. I don't remember
why.
But I don't fuck with you. That's it. My spirit would be like, I don't fuck with you. And I remember this guy in high school, freshman year, he did something I can't remember. I was like, oh, no, not gonna happen. Didn't talk to him for 3 years. Senior year, he said something to me like, you will always stink to me, blah, blah, blah. I was like, yeah, I know. I forgot what you did, but I don't
That's me all the time. Like, I have so many fallouts with people, and when I try to go back and remember, like, what was it that she did again? I just know I don't talk to her.
Right. I don't talk to her.
Because that's how much it doesn't matter. Like, it's not like I'm dwelling on what happened. It's just like, I always tell people.
I need you to move on too.
I was telling my sister this the other day. I'm like, I learned this about myself. I didn't know I was doing this consciously. I give people free trials. Like Netflix, you sign up for Netflix, and it's a free trial.
7-day trial, period.
Yeah. So I noticed that as I underwent my healing journey as an individual, I learned, like, okay, in order for me to change the outcome of the people that I'm bringing towards me, I had to change certain things, right? So at first I was very like, no, that's it, you're canceled. Like, I wouldn't have space and time to just see people further than, like, them not checking off the things I need on the list, right? So what started happening was that, which I think it was a great thing that I did, because now I know that when things don't work out with people, it's like I gave it all the angles possible. Like, I wasn't so fixed on being me. So I do that. I'm very nice. I'm very, like, flaws and all. I'm very receiving. I hold space, right? And I create even excuses for people despite what I'm already seeing, right? Because I'm like, you know what? In order for me to create a different outcome in my life, I have to be tolerant of things in different ways. I can't continue being, oh, you don't meet the you don't meet my expectations, you don't meet
Right.
the list, you're gone, right? That's very selfish. So I give people free trials, and when they fuck up the free trials, and then I'm back to unapologetic me, it's almost like bipolarism to them. It's like,
They're like, why you switch up like that, Naomi?
how you
Nah,
switched up
I
like
was
that?
always like that. You
This is
just
who I am.
failed.
Yeah, it's just I gave you a free trial. Free trial is up.
Yeah, it
You took the test
expired.
and you
And you
failed.
fumbled. Yeah. And
Your
it's not about
car,
who's
your
right or
car
who's
declined.
and it's not even about who's right or who's wrong. And I make it very clear.
Yeah.
It's not that you were wrong.
That's a good point.
It's just I gave you that free trial.
We didn't
We're just
connect.
not there.
Mhm.
And it's like now the boundaries and the walls are back up.
Yeah,
Preferably don't call my phone.
yeah, yeah.
Lose the number.
Like, don't even text me. Like, don't. It's just nothing personal at that. And then people have a hard time understanding how can it not be personal, but you're cutting me off. Yeah, because it's not. It's just I have very strict boundaries. I
Yes.
know what I want from
Yes.
people in
Yes.
life. And unfortunately, we don't make the cut for each other. It's not that you didn't make the cut. We just
Right.
didn't make the
And
cut
that's
for each
It's
other.
okay.
mutual.
That's
It's
okay.
mutual. We talked about boundaries a few episodes ago, and that was something really big for me personally, is that I have, when it comes to friends and family, I used to be a little bit more forgiving with my boundaries because, well, we were raised, especially with family, that's blood. You always you look past certain things, and then if you're a close friend of mine, I was willing to look past certain things. But again, since
Those
my
are the worst
father's
people to have less boundaries.
yeah, yes, and since my father's passing, I've been even more strict with my boundaries, less tolerant of certain things. If I have a boundary, that's it. Like I'm not here to negotiate. For what? Life is too short for that. Okay, if you don't respect my boundary, then you don't respect me.
Mhm.
You don't
And
respect
that's
me.
it.
And I start off with everybody with respect. But if you disrespect me, I'm gonna bring that energy times 3. And why do that? That's too much. I'm not here for that. Like, so
People
then,
can't deal with the nothing you. Like when you nothing people,
Mhm.
then it's like
yeah,
I'm not mad, I'm not bitter. It's
I'm
just
okay
now
with that.
you're just nothing. You don't exist. And I think
Yeah,
that hurts people more than
yeah,
seeing you in that vindictive nature of trying to get back.
right. And I don't want to. I'm like,
Hmm
there's nothing
That was a hard
there.
lesson for me to learn. Setting boundaries.
But how
Yeah,
liberating has it
it,
been?
it very liberating. Very liberating. But for me, I didn't understand what boundaries were. That was my issue. Like
Explain that. Like,
well,
what's the point of view of someone that doesn't understand? What does that look like to you? Like to know that you didn't understand boundaries.
well, now I understand boundaries to being okay, what is it that you do not want? And if that happens, then you are the person that needs to change, or not change in terms of let me appease you, but change in the sense of, okay, I need to walk away. Before, I would never walk away because it was, I'm giving you another chance. I didn't like this. I told you I didn't like this. And it was that ongoing, I said what my boundaries are or what I didn't want, and you continue, you give me excuses. So, or I would make excuses for them stepping over my boundary. But in terms of understanding, okay, if you have boundaries, then you are the one who's responsible of making taking the steps that's needed for you to let that person know that they've crossed it and then that's it. So, for example, there was this guy, um, well, I'll use my ex husband. He was notorious for just, coming up, showing up whenever he wanted to.
habitual line stepper.
Yeah, yeah. And I would engage in, because I thought if I met him at his level, where we will start arguing and I'm yelling and screaming and telling him, "Don't come up in here," da 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 da, and all of that was telling him, "Oh, you crossing my boundaries," yeah. But that wasn't doing anything. It was just creating more problems for the both of us, for our children. So I had to. kind of switch it up because Damaris would always tell me, "Why do you let him get under your skin?" And I'm like, "Cause I told him I didn't like this, and he's doing this, so I have to let him know that that ain't it." So what I've learned to do is just, okay, well, if he's gonna show up, then I'm not gonna open the door because he ain't call me, he ain't tell. You know what I'm saying? It's just I need to take an action that's gonna let that person know that no, you just can't do whatever it is that you want to do when it's against my wishes. And I will always feed into the argument, the fighting over nonsense, which it just I'm gonna tell you, it didn't make me feel. It made me feel better for that slight second, but afterwards, it wasn't.
It
It just
wasn't worth
it
it.
wasn't worth it because I felt terrible. I was angry for a long period of time, and when I started to learn how to respect my own boundaries, because that's what it really boils down to, is you respecting your
Right.
own boundaries and making sure that other people understand what those boundaries are. It's actually much easier than than what most people think. Like right now, it's my ex-husband and I, we have a decent relationship. We have a good relationship right now. And even when he does things that I'm like, you real foul, I just be like,
You
you
don't let
know,
it get to you. Like,
let me I'm gonna leave it there because that's who he is. I had to accept it that that's who he is, and not cross my own boundary. Like, okay, you don't need to even engage in, because that's really what it's about. They're trying to pull you into that.
to their level of
Yes.
frequency, their their disruptiveness. They want you to engage in that. And that's what I've learned too, to
Yeah.
disengage. That's my favorite word. I disengage. When I feel an argument coming with a friend or with my husband or anybody, and it's just like, this isn't worth my time, I'm disengaging. I'll watch and observe you get out of hand and start like have this argument, but I'll just watch you. And that gets them even more riled up. But it's not even me purposely trying to rile someone up.
Mhm.
I'm just disengaging
Yeah.
because it disrupts my frequency. It disrupts my energy.
Yeah.
It disrupts my spirit in a way that I don't like. So I don't like to feel this way. I'm not going to engage.
Yeah, and that was my problem. I didn't
I
know how
learned
to
that
do
with my
that.
son's father.
Mhm.
I think that I always say that he's one of my greatest lessons. I went through a lot with him, right? But I'm so grateful for my
Right.
experience with him. I'm grateful for having a child with him because when I tell you my experience with him broke me down, it broke me down to the point that I had no choice but to rebuild myself up. And while I was rebuilding myself, I still had to deal with it because he's my son's
Right.
father. And I learned boundaries. I learned, like, literally honoring what just doesn't make me feel well because
Yes,
I
yes.
learned that he was a constant. There was nothing that
Mhm.
I can do to get rid of this man because I had a whole entire child,
Human
Right.
being.
Right.
right, with him. So and he had no chill, right? So
Mhm.
he's a narcissist. He has a lot of narcissistic traits. So he was just, if there was one person that consistently wanted to knock me down and remind me of all the whack stuff that I could be, and just like it was
Yeah.
just him. So I had to just like, okay, after years of just kind of like every time he said something, feeling
Mhm.
triggered,
Mhm.
arguing with him,
Mhm.
Right.
him
Being
ruining
triggered.
my day. Yeah, him ruining my day, him making me cry, him making me feel ugly, unworthy, just so many things. And this is after we broke up. That one day I said, hold the fuck up. I
You
said,
can't have this control.
hold on, like, what the hell did I leave him for? I
Mhm.
left him to then still be under his control.
Right.
And there was that moment that I realized, like, okay, for example, I don't need to take money from him. Him giving me money from my
Yeah.
child, although it's the right thing to do because he
Sure.
has to provide for his child. It's like, it was coming with a lot of shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
It came with a
Keep your
lot.
money.
Yeah. Yeah.
Keep your
Yeah,
money.
Yeah.
to the point that I sat one day, I said, I don't need that. It's cool. As long as you, and then I started establishing the rule, not the rule, but like with myself, like, yo, all I need him to do is to be present.
Right. Mm-hmm.
In reality, I just need him to physically be present in a healthy manner for his child, because my son is not going to remember the transactional shit.
Mm-hmm.
The transactional shit, I got, like, whatever I got to provide for my son, I made the decision and the oath to give birth to him. Like, what you can do is just an add-on. But I learned that with him, because when I told you that I could have continued playing the game of not, I could have continued playing the game of just not having boundaries. Till this day, I think I would have still not been as solid as I am, because I would have not allowed it, because he would have just been continuously hurting me, and I'm just triggered and reacting. Now it's like,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter.
Right. You just step away.
Doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that all goes into the whole your spiritual health, your overall spiritual health, and boundaries is just a part of that, right? And I think you both have mentioned about what certain things that help you along your spiritual health and your spirituality, and talking about boundaries and setting that. I think that's a huge part of it. But Nachi, for you, what are some of the things that you felt before you said before you got married you were like doing, you incorporated things into your daily life to feed you spiritually? What did you do then, and then what are you doing now? Because I'm curious to hear about all both of you guys.
So then and I do that now. So one thing that I do is I journal. So for me, journaling, especially when I have a lot on my mind, if I'm feeling down, depressed, like things are just, like just a lot of stuff happening, I have to let it out. And for me to let it out, I have to write it out. So that's, when I'm feeling kind of off, I need to start journaling. So that's one thing I used to do then, and I do that now. Um, the other thing.
Sorry to interrupt you. Who put you on to journaling? Was it something you learned, or you just kind of figured it out on your own that it just worked?
Well, like I said, I think I've read so many different books, and um, along my journey, that journaling was always something that came up. So it was like, okay, if I'm in a workshop, journaling was always something that they would bring up and tell you, okay, this is a good method of using to jot down your thoughts. Sometimes they give you some journaling prompts, but for me, the prompts never work for me. For me, it was just I just need to kind of like let everything out, right? Because a lot is going inside my mind. I'm just like so much that I have to kind of write. And sometimes, if, like when I'm reading back on it, I start in one direction, then I start talking about something else.
It's just stream of
Yeah,
consciousness for
yeah,
you.
yeah. So I just and that always makes me feel better. Um, Another thing that I used to do then that I really need to start picking up now, that I don't do as consistent, but I used to meditate a lot more earlier on. That was something, I would come home. So, when I used to work
Oh God,
at this
we're gonna talk
hospital.
about the hospital where
Yes,
you used to come home crying every day.
yes, I hated it. But the way I decompress, I would literally meditate. Yeah, I don't know if you ever remember my little table, my little wooden table that I had in my bedroom, and I'll light my
Vaguely.
light my candle, read my affirmation, and kind of sit with my thoughts.
Oh my goodness, I love it.
Now I don't meditate as often, but I do things like I've started doing these Kundalini sadhanas with the Brujas of Brooklyn. They've been doing
Love
the
them.
last couple of years, and
You know, they went to Binghamton, right? They went to my
I
college.
heard, yeah, yeah.
Same year that you did, like around the time you did.
No, they were older, so they were alums to us. So when I was there, they used to come I think one of them is in a sorority. I don't think both of them are.
Okay.
So they came like twice. We had like an alumni event, and they had came, but they were nowhere near into nothing that they do
Now,
now. They were
yeah.
just alum.
No, I
Yeah.
love
They
them.
started, yeah.
So it was
Shout
the,
out to New Husband Brooklyn.
yeah, I know. So I've been doing their sadhanas, and those been great because it's something that I've had to do consistently. So it's a 40 days of, a meditative practice.
So Sarishi,
Uh-huh.
they are her students.
Yes, yes. That's how
Yeah.
I know of Sarishi and why I follow her too. And so that's one thing that I do now. Back then, it was just my own little thing. And then I also used
I did
to,
that one with you. I enjoyed it a lot,
you
but
said,
getting up at like
get up at 5:30. For me,
no,
it's very refreshing. Like whenever I do get up at that, the only time that I don't get up is if I've gone to bed really late or I'm just off and tired. But I actually feel better when I do get up
I was
early.
shaking throughout the
I
day.
know you told me that it's just not your thing. and
My body rejects that.
and you're the type of person that if it's not how it's meant to be, you won't do it. You don't like to do the workaround. You're not you're not the type of person
Yeah.
like, oh, I'll do it later in the day because you feel like you're so off. And I'm like,
No,
it
no, no,
doesn't
no.
matter. And
No, it
you're the
does to me.
opposite.
Yes.
But
Yes.
so that's what I do now. Back then, like I said, it was just my own little meditation session that I would do on my own. Uh, and yeah, so and now I also I may break out an oracle card. So that's another thing that I do. If I'm kind of, if I have, let's say I'm struggling with something or I need answers to something, I may take out, one of my oracle cards to give me the answer that I need. And my spirits be telling me, my spirit guides be talking to me and tell me the truth. And I'm like, okay, okay, I heard you loud and clear. So I do that as well. That's been helpful, especially when I'm looking for answers and I just need to kind of sit back. That's what I do. I just kind of pull out my oracle card, one of my oracle deck.
When I think about what I do for myself, for me, I think it's the morning prayers. And
Mm,
I'll say that Mama Vida was the one that put me on to really being uh, consistent
yeah.
with when you wake up praying and starting with gratitude. Because I always came from a grateful place in general because
Hmm.
I'm a highly favored child of the Most High. I say this all the time. My life is lit. I've always been given everything, and not to say not without a struggle, but largely without a struggle.
Hmm.
So, highly favored, got it. But I need to be mindful about doing that every morning when I wake up. And I've realized that when I don't start my morning with my quick prayer, and it's not a long prayer, but it starts with, gratitude and thanking for everything, and then shielding myself from all you motherfuckers, then it's like, but my day is better because when I notice when my day is a little bit more, there's more frustrations or things happening that I don't like. I think back, I'm like, did I pray this morning? And I'm like, oh, I didn't. And
Hmm.
then I do my quick prayer, like, come on, guys, come
You
on,
know I'm grateful.
yeah, make my day better, and
Right.
and then it does. But that to me is like the biggest thing. Um, Meditation in the traditional sense doesn't work for me, like, sitting down and being quiet. I think I find meditation through reading, and it could be reading anything.
Hmm.
Uh, you know, just sitting down, taking a nap.
that, yeah, no, but that is,
That's a
yeah.
first. That's a first. Taking a nap. How do you meditate? I take a nap.
I
I
need my body
never heard
to.
that one.
Well, you're welcome, Naomi.
You need your body to rejuvenate.
Yes, my body needs to rejuvenate, and I'm just like, okay, I need to just rest. I come from a place of calmness. My body doesn't like, and tool for too many years because of this, how we're conditioned to work these 40-hour work weeks. And,
As you
you
said,
got
like
to
a
be,
donkey.
yeah, working like a donkey. And I never did that because it didn't align with my spirit. No. This has been a fantastic conversation, and obviously, this is not going to be our last. And again, Nachi and I, we're grateful to our listeners and grateful to Naomi to sit with us and talk about all this important work that we need to do individually, spiritually, emotionally, and mentally. And we hope that our listeners have gotten something out of this and now have access to resources and things to consider, different ways of aligning themselves with their, you know, with their a higher being, and also just connecting intuitively with your own spirituality and whatever that looks like. There's no one way to go about it. So thank you all for listening, and we look forward to talking to you guys in our next episode.
Please follow us on your favorite podcast platform and sign up for our emails on our website at imnotyelling.co to get the latest update.